Jaymey McIvor's here. Very good morning to you, Jaymey.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in. The first time Reform UK's first Essex councillor.
That's correct.
Welcome to Morning Glory. People are looking at this Starmer-Macron kind of, mash-up, this summit, and going, why? What are they going to do? What are they possibly going to agree that's going to help us?
Well, I know. I mean, first of all, if I had the opportunity of meeting Emmanuel Macron this morning, I would say, le problème dans ma ville, c'est il y a trop de migrants illégaux. There are too many illegal migrants in my town, because at the end of the day, this country's biggest political issue right now is the fact we have uncontrolled borders. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying, I always am in disbelief when I say these things, because we are an island. I don't know how hard it has to be. But frankly, Kent, the Garden of England, has become the front garden to people who want to enter the country illegally. And, there can't be a bigger priority for the British state other than national security, which right now is very vulnerable.
And they keep telling us that we're on a war footing. I mean, we've just been having a bit of a poking fun at this alert system that they've got going on. They're going to send out an alert on September the 7th, as if in case we get invaded. But somebody said, well, maybe we'd be better off if we were invaded, because actually they might run the country better, and we might actually have some kind of security, which we don't have. We don't know who these people are.
Well, I think the point that people are making quite a lot at the moment is that, we are, I think we're the best country in the world, of course I do, and I look at the moment at Britain on the world stage and I feel a bit embarrassed, and I don't like feeling like that. And whilst I'm in no way a supporter of Keir Starmer, I want the British Prime Minister on the world stage to make me feel proud to be British. And actually at the moment we look at our government and it is chaos. It's also humiliating. I look at the Chagos deal, I look at the situation of our borders, I look at the weakness that Britain shows. I think particularly some of our stances on the Middle East has been weak, and I don't like the way that London's streets have become.
Not just been weak in the Middle East, it's been wrong, in my view.
Mate, you're right there. And also, I think if you just look at the streets of London, you only speak to a black cab driver and they say it's a nightmare at the weekend. You can't get tourists around because of all the protesting. And, I just think we've got a very horrible culture right now in our country. It upsets me. But I do see a light at the end of the tunnel. I think Reform's polling is exceptional. I think the reality of Nigel Farage being Prime Minister is now a realistic reality, and that's something we're all excited about. Business is excited about that. Ordinary, hard-working people that set their alarm clock in the morning can see a light at the end of the tunnel now. The patriotic Brits can see a light at the end of the tunnel.
But there's an awful lot of them that I hear from every single day who get in touch with us, between sort of 5 and 7 in the morning, who say, I got up for work, I do it every day. I'm getting more and more cheesed off with the fact that there are too many people in this country getting something for nothing. I'm working my backside off. My wife has got 2 jobs. We're trying our best. We're trying to raise kids. We're not, we're not on benefits, but they see people on benefits, they see people coming in as migrants getting free stuff, and they're really getting angry about it.
Well, of course they have every right to be angry. I mean, they have every right to be angry, and what angers people even more is the fact that people are entering the country illegally, and the British state is treating them as though they are British citizens on day one and putting them in a hotel room. Meanwhile, we have homeless veterans on the streets of this country. So people have every right to be angry. What people need to do, and I say this all the time, whether I'm on a pub tour, campaigning, whatever, is that anger needs to now be channeled into political participation, voting at a bare minimum, joining a political party like Reform, which is actually standing up for this stuff, but also actually getting involved in your community, meeting your local councillors. There are now 850 Reform councillors across the country and counting. People have now got to turn this frustration into political participation, or nothing will change. It's all very well moaning about it, being unhappy about it. We need to turn that corner now. The only way we left the European Union is because enough people up and down this country said that's it and started putting vote leave posters in their windows and delivering leaflets. The only way, this is a war footing politically now, to remove these socialists out of government, these people that hate Britain, that are harming our country. We've got to replace it with a common sense Reform government. I do genuinely believe that is the only way we're going to turn a corner.
Yeah, I think so. And how are you finding going into this local council in Essex and for the first time having to try and deal with the people there and coming presumably up against quite a lot of what you might call recidivism, people who don't really want to help you?
Yeah, I would say I'm probably the least popular councillor in that council chamber. But do you know what? I love it.
You look like you're enjoying it, though.
Do you know what? I defected to Reform UK, so I'm not a by-election winner, but I defected to Reform, one of the first to do it. I'm very proud to do so. And I go to that council chamber, and they all give it to me. It's funny, isn't it, how one backbench councillor can be the subject of almost a council meeting. People get up and they give their entire 3 minutes that's meant to be for their constituents. They do a monologue about me. It's absolutely hilarious. But I look around that chamber and I think all of you are going going to lose your seats
Yeah.
the minute we have elections.
Right.
And look at what happens in Kent. Look at what happens in Lancashire.
Yeah.
Some of these seats that have been Conservative forever, rural communities that have always voted Conservative, farming communities, and they all voted Reform, because there is a tsunami of turquoise. We only need to look at the polling. And so I look at all those people and I think, I can't wait for you all to lose your seats. Firstly, because of the fact you clearly don't put your constituents before your politics, but also because they have actually fundamentally let the country down, let their councils down. You look at the debt situation in some of these councils. I think Kent is on £84,000 a day in interest alone, and we've now got a reform administration.
It's unaffordable, isn't it? They can't.
It's unsustainable.
Keep it up.
And you look at what we've inherited in places like Worcestershire. We've got these big empty buildings that are costing a fortune. You know, no one believes that we can do miracles overnight. And the people that voted Reform know that too. But what the people voted for, they voted for a change, and it's a culture change from the top down. You look at some of the things that our chief executives, some of our councils have been doing to resist some of the Reform activity. You know, that's going to hopefully stop very soon. And I think we've got a real opportunity now, actually a once-in-a-generation opportunity, to take local government seriously. We've just expected our bins to be collected and
it's all gone horribly wrong, and everyone's going, why doesn't any of it work? Why are the roads not being fixed? Why are the gardens not being cut? Why are the parks not being looked after? I mean, we've got, even in London today, there's a report, we haven't even got around to talking about it, that some of the most dangerous places in London now are the royal parks, because they're teeming with criminals, and people go in there thinking, oh, I'll take the kids in there, it'll be nice. They're getting their watches nicked, they're getting their phones nicked, getting their bicycles stolen. You know, what are the police doing? And what are the local government in this city, i.e. Sadiq Khan? What's he doing?
Well, Sadiq Khan, I'm sorry, I don't know how that guy's ever won an election based on his record, but let's just be frank about it. It's civic pride, isn't it?
Yeah.
People have to love their communities, and how can you love some of the communities in London when you've got graffiti everywhere, when you've got drug dealing in every corner, when you've got people riding on their bikes, snatching people's phones, and then you phone police and nothing happens? I mean, it's a scary situation we find ourselves in, and this is the capital of England. And how many England flags do you see flying around the city? You know, the lack of civic pride in London is astonishing. But actually, what should make us feel better is on the borders of London, especially that sort of M25 area of London, there is still that patriotic folk, and I do think when they have their opportunity to vote next year, assuming that Labour don't decide to cancel a load of more elections, assuming those people get to vote, I think they will vote for change, because a lot of people now are fleeing London. We talk a lot about immigration to the country. Not many people talk about migration out of London. You know, how many people talk about the fact that the East End of London, which was once full of English people, those people are now living in places like Essex and Hertfordshire, and it's not because they've chosen. They've felt forced out of these places. Nobody wants to talk about that. Ongar, where I'm a councillor, a beautiful part of Essex, most of the people that live there now, they're either born and bred or they've come from East London. And when I talk about East London, I'm talking about bits that actually are historically part of Essex. And we've seen the counties be carved up. Many people that are Essex people are now in London under Mayor Khan's jurisdiction. They never had a say on that. And now with local government reorganisation, we're seeing Essex carved up potentially into 3 or 4 or 5. No one can make their mind up. So I think we've got a very worrying lack of civic pride that's occurring, but I do believe the silent majority are proud of their country, they love their country, and they want their country back.
Yeah, they certainly do. Good to see you, Jaymey McIvor. Thank you very much indeed.